Ministry of Finance, and as Vice President saw Kenya's economy grow steadily, fueled by a commodities boom, as well as fiscal and monetary policies that were the backbone of his economic philosophy. Believing that Kenya was once again ripe for a vibrant multi-democracy, President Kibaki exited from government and led the charge to keep the ruling party accountable. His contributions to the restoration of multi-party democracy as the leader of the official opposition, combined with his track record and impressive credentials, made MWAI Kibaki the natural choice for selection as the opposition consensus candidate against my own candidature in the year 2002 and the presidential elections that followed thereafter. On the 30th of December 2002, MWAI Kibaki was sworn in as the third president of the Republic of Kenya. He served as head of state and government until the 9th of April 2013. The late former president's administration conceptualized and spearheaded transformation in crucial sectors such as education through the globally lauded free primary education program, infrastructure developments in transport and energy, and the increasing the availability and access to healthcare for his fellow Kenyans. In honor of this great statesman, Kenya remains committed to maintaining policies that promote economic and social empowerment, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. The late President Kibaki championed the realization and objectives of the East African Community Common Market, of trade liberalization for the citizens of partner states of the East African Community. His inclusive spirit and conviction for economic empowerment transcended the territory of Kenya towards cross-border economic stability. The late former president's central role in shepherding Kenya into a new constitutional dispensation at the culmination of a decade-long quest is a towering legacy that immortalizes President Kibaki. We can take comfort in the inspiring legacy of ideals and examples of devotion to his country, which he bequeathed to us all, more so with our new constitutional dispensation. His dedication and love for our country undoubtedly honors Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and in the world. He leaves behind a more united and prosperous Kenya, as well as a template for servant leadership, which we must continue to nurture and improve for generations to come. And on his passing, today we once again renew our pledge in tribute to our great leader to foster. As we mourn the passing of an icon,
He will be deputized by Kibaki. When it comes to the senatorial seat, we have the party Secretary General of ODM, Edwin Sifuna. On the women representative seat for Azimio La Umoja, that flag will be flown by Esther Passaris, the current Nairobi County woman representative. And Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, who was actually eyeing that gubernatorial seat, will actually go back to Westlands and defend his seat. He has stepped down and said that he's supporting Polycarp Igade for that seat of the Nairobi gubernatorial. And when it comes to Richard Ngatia, one of the candidates who was actually eyeing that seat, he's also stepped down, and Honorable Raila Odinga says that he will be given that appointment of the special envoy when it comes to matters business. So that is the lineup for the Azimio La Umoja political seat. So right now, I'd like us to cross over to my colleague, that is Willie Lusige in Kakamega County. Lusige, a good afternoon. Definitely it's not a good one for the entire country as we're still mourning the death of the third president of the Republic of Kenya, MWAI Kibaki. But what is the latest on politics in Kakamega?
Definitely, it's a somber mood across the country because the third president now has gone to lay to rest. And that's the reason why we want to speak with the ANC party leader, that is Musalia Mudavadi, and also a key principal in the Kenya Kwanza team, because they're here in Kakamega so as he can send his condolence and then also tell us a lot, because he really worked close with the late Mwai Kibaki. Karibu sana on KTN News, Mheshimiwa. First of all, I know it's a sad moment for Kenyans. You have received the news. A few minutes ago, you had sent your condolences, but you can redo it again.
Well, let me just say that it's a sad day for the people of Kenya, that we have lost our third president. And as I highlighted, he's a president who had made a major contribution to this country, even in his earlier days. He started helping Kenya think through its economic agenda in the very early stages during the days of the independence. He participated in pushing forward the liberation agenda for the people of Kenya. And then he became one of the most preeminent finance ministers that the country has had. He also was a stalwart in party politics. So Mzee Kibaki was indeed a very intelligent individual, very witty, very down to earth in his approach to things, and also a man with a great sense of humor. And we would also see this from time to time. You remember even when he would make comments like that, even if you have to steal or cheat, you must at least use some intelligence to do it. You know, such witty comments that would come from him, or the way he would summarize a lot of things in very few words. For instance, when there was chaos in the country and he said, everybody must obey the law, simple. And he said nothing else to it. Therefore, he had brought a different style to Kenya's politics. I don't think he was a vindictive individual. So we have lost him. We must also remember that this is a president who, even in the middle of a crisis, was able to still step back and say that for the sake of the country, he was ready to have a grand coalition government in 2007, 2008, to be able to bring the people of Kenya together after an election process that was very bitter and acrimonious in Kenya. He was able to agree to a grand coalition government. That is a major milestone. It's also important to highlight that at the end of the day, we should not lose sight of the fact that it is Kibaki who eventually promulgated the new constitution in Kenya. You remember this was a debate that had been there for years, and many Kenyans had also lost their life in the quest for a new constitution. And it is during Kibaki's tenure that Kenyans were able to finally have a new constitution, the constitution that we have today. So these are very critical milestones that you can quickly point out for us. And the final thing is that when his time came constitutionally, Kibaki left gracefully, and he allowed Kenyans to make their choice without any intimidation or without any coercion to the electorate. So you can see this is a person who believed in fair play, who believed in the rule of law, and who was a great patriot for this country. So we can only say that may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Do you think President Uhuru Kenyatta has to learn something from Kibaki, the late?
Well, that is for Uhuru himself to make his comments. But clearly, there are a lot of things that Kenyans can learn from MWAI Kibaki. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was ANC Party Leader Musalia Mudavadi sending his condolences in regard to the demise of the third president of this country, that is MWAI Kibaki, all live from here in Kakamega County, where they're also having their open economic forum with stakeholders within Kakamega County.
Willie Lusige, thank you so much for speaking to ANC Party Leader Musalia Mudavadi, one of the top leaders in the country, worked very closely with the late President MWAI Kibaki during the Grand Coalition government. But then President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared a national mourning from today until sunset following the death of former President MWAI Kibaki. Now, all Kenyan flags will also be flown at half-mast in all diplomatic missions and public grounds from today until sunset to mark the death of the third president of the Republic of Kenya. The late Kibaki will be accorded a state funeral.
The late former president's central role in shepherding Kenya into a new constitutional dispensation at the culmination of a decade-long quest is a towering legacy that immortalizes President Kibaki. We can take comfort in the inspiring legacy of ideals and examples of devotion to his country, which he bequeathed to us all, more so with our new constitutional dispensation. His dedication and love for our country undoubtedly honors Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and in the world. He leaves behind a more united and prosperous Kenya, as well as a template for servant leadership, which we must continue to nurture and improve for generations to come. And on his passing, today we once again renew our pledge in tribute to our great leader to foster. As we mourn the passing of an icon, we can rejoice in the lifelong companionship he enjoyed with his now departed wife, Her Excellency Mama Lucy Kibaki, and his extended family. Today, our sincere sympathy to his children, Judy Wanjiko, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagi, and Tony Githinji.
All right, so that is what President Uhuru Kenyatta had to say early this afternoon following the demise of the third president of the Republic of Kenya, that is President MWAI Kibaki. And of course, he gave us several directives in terms of the flags flying at half-mast. That is what you've told you. But then again, I'd like us to have a look at what is happening at the Lee Funeral Home, where the body of the late President MWAI Kibaki is at right now. And what you can see is beefed up security because of this the position that the MWAI Kibaki held as the President of the Republic of Kenya. Definitely, we will be giving you more details as to who is expected there this afternoon to go and view the body. But currently, as we speak, the body of the late President MWAI Kibaki is at the Lee Funeral Home. All right, we'll continue giving you the live coverage of what will be happening there at the Lee Funeral Home, only the best way that we can here on KTN News. But then, unlike his predecessors, President MWAI Kibaki's 10-year rule was unique in many aspects, from the change of guard in terms of the ruling party to a president who led actually a strictly 10-year administration that was run on coalition governments, to a head of state who was openly challenged and even defied members of his cabinet. Duncan Heimber takes a look at his administration under coalition governments.
For the man who helped define the advent of multi-party politics and later ruled Kenya for a decade, life for Emilio MWAI Kibaki began in Gatuyaine village in Othaya on the morning of the 15th of November 1931, the son of John Gethenji Kibaki and Teresia Wanjiku. As a young boy, Kibaki was seen by his father as being not very useful in the garden. But the stars, it appears, had already started shining upon him when in 1939, the Consolata missionaries set up the Gatuyaine school and nominated him for admission. He studied at the school for 2 years, then joined the Holy Ghost Catholic Missionaries Karima Mission School for another 3 years. He later proceeded to Mathare School, now Nyeri High School, between 1944 and 1946. In 1947, he was admitted to the Holy Ghost College, now Mangu High School, something that may have altered the course of his life. In 1950, he passed his examinations with grade 1 distinction, earning himself entry into the then prestigious Makerere University for a Bachelor of Arts degree in Economics, History and Political Science. In 1955, he graduated with first-class honors in economics and under scholarship to join the world-famous London School of Economics in 1956. Kibaki enrolled for a Bachelor of Science degree in Public Finance and in 1958 became the first African to graduate from the school with a first-class honor. Following his graduation, he returned to Makerere University, where he taught economics as an assistant lecturer until 1960, when he resigned and came back to Kenya to join politics. Kibaki started off as KANU's executive officer. The same year, he met the now deceased Lucy Muthoni Kibaki. The Kibaki and Lucy romance blossomed for 2 years until 1962, when he married her and left his role in KANU. The couple were later blessed with 4 children. A year later, he began what would turn out to be a long career in politics that would land him the country's ultimate job, the presidency, in 2002. After Kenya gained independence in 1963, Kibaki was elected Member of Parliament for Donholm, now Makadara constituency, and was appointed Parliamentary Secretary to the Treasury and an Assistant Minister for Economic Planning and Development, working as Tom Mboya's deputy. In 1966, following the fallout between President Jomo Kenyatta and his deputy Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, which saw Jaramogi form the Kenya People's Union, Kibaki was elevated to a full cabinet minister in charge of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, serving in a cabinet of 23 ministers, including Tom Mboya, Charles Njonjo, Mbiyu Koinange, Daniel Moi, and William Wamalwa. When Tom Mboya was assassinated in July 1969, Kibaki and J.M. Kariuki were the only prominent leaders from central Kenya who attended Mboya's burial in Rusinga Island, and his association with Mboya, his fellow Mangu alumni, and his boldness to attend his funeral made him a marked man by some of those who surrounded Kenyatta's presidency. He was nevertheless appointed Minister for Finance and Economic Planning in 1969. But in the 1974 elections, which followed the Mboya assassination crisis, Kibaki, in what was seen as a tactical retreat, moved his political base from Donholm to Othaya and remained the area MP for close to 4 decades. Following Kenyatta's death in 1978, Daniel Moi took over power, and Kibaki was elevated to vice president and continued serving as Minister for Finance. After the 1983 elections, Kibaki retained the vice presidency, but his ministerial docket was changed to that of Home Affairs, just a year after Kenya was officially declared a one-party state. Kibaki, who was seen as a reserved and moderate politician, was however demoted to the Ministry of Health after falling out with Daniel Moi in 1988. He served in the docket until the reintroduction of multi-party politics in 1991, when he quit KANU, resigned from the Moi cabinet, and formed his own party, the Democratic Party. Kibaki was criticized by some for not joining the Forum for Restoration of Democracy, FORD, a formidable political force at the time. But FORD split into FORD Kenya, led by Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and FORD Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba, something that may have played in Kibaki's favor.
Democratic Party believes that Kenya must regain its lost.
We are watching Radio TV show for all we call from US.
Remember to subscribe to Maju Live Radio TV, the pride of diaspora.